We've been around this block a few times, and the Tuesday after the Super Bowl is the day to ask two questions. Number one, now what?
Well, it's now 205 days until next
But who's
kickoff.
counting?
Yeah, who's counting?
Who's counting? Sly Stallone, I'm sure, will be there, and Bradley Cooper will be there, and
Jake Tapper.
they'll all be there.
The sun will come
They'll
out.
all be there. The Lombardi Trophy will be there. Opening night. So now what? And the way you also fill the now what is this question. Can you do it again? Mm-hmm. Can you do it again? Mm-hmm. Are you equipped to do it again? And on this very day, to ask this question now, is it too soon? Of course it is. But you're already beginning to see what might cause an issue potentially down the road, because as we speak right here, it does appear that whatever might have been attempted to run this S back with their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, he's going to be the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And they're finalizing deals, crossing T's, dotting I's, handing out commas, whatever they're doing. The Saints are going to get their man in Kellen Moore, which means yet another new offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts. I mean, think about it, man. Different offensive coordinators at Alabama. Then he goes to Oklahoma. Had Lincoln Riley there. Then he goes to the pros. There's Doug Peterson. Poof, there goes Doug Peterson. 3 years after winning a Super Bowl. In comes Nick Sirianni. He's calling plays. Well, no, he's not calling plays anymore. Shane Steichen calling plays. Then Shane, poof. Then in comes a whole other set of circumstances and yada, yada, yada. But can they do it again? Who's coming back? Well, you take a look at their free agents. Notable free agents include Zach Bond. Mm-hmm. You heard of him?
Yep.
He's going to get paid. Oren Burks, who filled in quite capably once Nakobe Dean went down, right? Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, who only represent 4.5 of the 6 sacks of Super Bowl 59.
Josh Sweat's going to look good in New England.
Okay. All right, let's see if BG wants to run it back, Brandon Graham, or he just wants to ride off into the sunset off a dub in the Super Bowl. Mekhi Becton. Hey, Jets fans, Mekhi Becton has a ring, and you don't. Kenny Pickett took a knee, Steelers fans. Victory formation, Kenny Pickett. My goodness. Kenneth Gainwell, Isaiah Rodgers, Devontae Maddox. That's about it. So they're not going to, they're not going to lose anybody that big here, right? I mean, there's some names that they use to win, but we'll see. Howie Roseman can work his magic. And then you take a look at who's going to beat him. Who's going to beat this team filled with young studs all over the place? And Jalen Hurts now with a ring. And A.J. Brown in his book and his ring. And Devontae Smith and his Heisman Trophy in his ring. And Dallas Goedert with his stiff arm in his ring. And that offensive line with their 350 pounds in their rings. And Jalen Carter in his ring. And Nolan Smith in his ring. Cooper DeJean in his ring. I mean, who's going to stop him? Well, the idea would be, who does the league think, maybe? And I'm not saying that because of anything stupid. I'm just saying is that they're going to have the first say as to who might be a team to watch, because they're going to have their choice of a ton of highly interesting opponents to place in Philadelphia on opening night, 205 days, right, from now?
205 days.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's any of the division opponents. Do they dare put Washington in there? An NFC Championship game rematch? I don't think they're going to go divisional rival. I don't think it's going to be Dallas off the bat either. Okay? How about the Bears, potentially, in their first go-round with Ben Johnson
That sounds fun.
I know, but it's also a bit dicey.
Whose house?
Put a pin in that one.
Okay.
Denver going there.
I like that, too.
Would be fascinating. Sean Payton's second season with Bo Nix, and who else have they brought in? If they bring in and they've got the defensive player of the year, reigning defensive player of the year, and Patrick Surtain, and if they add somebody big, if they add a big piece free agent, they might be the ones that they throw out there on opening night as an interesting, hey, Denver, in the same way that we knighted the Lions a couple years ago, and everyone's thinking, really? Are you going to go ahead and put the Lions out there in Kansas City on an opening night?
Right.
The league was like, yep. And you know what the Lions did? Lions-type stuff with Dan Campbell, which is why I think that's who they're sending to.
Oh, you do?
Philadelphia to open the season. Oh, yeah, man.
But that's another opening night. That's, 2 out of 3 years for them.
Well, I understand that, and the Lions might be like kind of what gives, or they'll be just like, let's, anytime, anywhere. That's what we're all about. Yeah. And the whole country will be tuning in to see what a lot of people thought was going to be the NFC Championship game this year. And the Lions are eager to serve notice that, yes, the Eagles did win it out of our conference, but it's still us that's the team to beat, and nobody believes in us. We lost both our coordinators, just like Philadelphia did a couple of years ago. We're not going to fall in the same pitfall. I kind of dig that as an opening night game. And then you have to see who else is coming out of the NFC North as a possibility to knock off the Eagles. Just I'm talking about within their own conference here. They're division rivals. With all due respect to Dallas, I need to see how they're going to be reconstituted for Brian Schottenheimer before I start putting them above the Commanders within their own division. As certainly an opportunity to knock off the Eagles the way that they are playing football. Because I do proffer later on in this Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday, you will ask me in an Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday subject matter is fill in the blank from the AFC, not name the Chiefs, would have given the Eagles a better game in the Super Bowl. And we'll discuss that later on. But I'm just talking about, within the conference right now, I'm going to give you a team that's on this mix. I don't think they're going to put them there to start the season. I don't think so. But it's something to keep an eye on. Which team, and this is for this upcoming season, because it's never too early,
it's never too early.
What now? Which team came closest to beating the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs in retrospect of their evisceration of the Chiefs, 50 burgering of the Commanders, and wiping out of the Packers in the opening round of this playoffs? It was the Los Angeles Rams.
And you could say the elements got to the Rams. Think about the Kyron Williams fumble and the Stafford, literally the ball just popped out of his hands because of the cold, the wet, the snow.
And despite all that, after Saquon ran yet another home run ball in on them in the end zone, down 2 scores, they still had an opportunity on the cusp of the red zone in a snowstorm. The Los Angeles Rams had a shot on 3rd down to win this game down by 6.
Yeah, ball in the air.
And Jalen Carter blew up the final 2 plays. And then after Jalen Carter handled the Rams, Jalen Hurts handled the Commanders and the Chiefs. And the 2 Jalens with Saquon and that defense took care of everybody else. But which team came closest to the Eagles in the playoffs? It was the Los Angeles Rams. And I understand some folks are wondering, why give up Cooper Kupp? That one I can't answer. And it's interesting, I'm seeing a Matthew Stafford commercial on one of our competitors right now as I bring this up. That one I think is a no-brainer. That one is just going to get handled. Because why in the world would you not run it back with him? I'd be shocked if whatever contractual standoff might be out there right now in a business posturing on both sides, because the clock's not even close to striking midnight for both of these sides on this subject matter. Why would you put yourself in the mosh pit with the Jets and the Raiders and the Giants and anybody else who might be looking for a quarterback this year in a draft market for quarterbacks and a free agent market for quarterbacks that would keep me up at night if I had to go get one right now to win if I was a quarterback needy team. I'll tell you that. Why would you willingly put yourself in that mix when Matthew Stafford's sitting here in Los Angeles? And you can run this thing back. And you can maybe add some offensive linemen before the Chiefs add offensive linemen. And maybe you can add another weapon piece later in the draft like Les Snead does all the time with Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua. Could you imagine they go and strike it rich like that in the draft like they've struck it rich in the draft when they stopped effing all their picks?
I mean, I know we talk about Howie Roseman all the time, deservedly so, as one of the best GMs, but Les, man, he always hits home runs in the draft. Always.
And he does have that Patriot way, for the lack of a better phrase here, of looking at a guy and saying, we're going to part ways earlier than the rest of the world thinks it's suitable to part ways. And that might be what's happening with Cooper Kupp.
Maybe.
I don't know, but
he's owed a lot of money,
dude,
too.
The Rams came as close as anybody to the Eagles. And they have the same package that could have been rolled downhill at Mahomes, too. With a bunch of young bucks who are just out of their gourd.
Yeah, Jared Verse probably would have game-wrecked the Super Bowl.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Jared Verse. So I'm just throwing that out there as a possible eye on things for the Eagles. But they are set. I mean, losing their offensive coordinator is one thing. They're going to have to go out there, and Hertz is going to have to do it again. But let's just run it back. Offensive line, Saquon, same weapons, Hertz, coach, defense, Fangio, Big Dom.
Big Dom.
Get the gang back together. They're a young team with now all the confidence in the world. Thrilled to have the targets on their backs with the rest of the league. Roll it downhill again. And Saquon might be right. They're starting their own dynasty. Never know. Because they just came up with one of the biggest beatdowns in the history of the Super Bowl, and that's a fact. And I know it was only 18 points at the end, but they just smoked the show.
It was 40-6.
They smoked the show on Sunday. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.